Hi everybody, let's talk about pavement and sidewalks, roads and sidewalks basically. So I use this XF25 light sea gray on the roads here, and then after I put it on, just brushed it on, that's over the Woodland Scenics Smooth It paving system. I gave it a very light sanding with some very fine sandpaper just to scuff it up a little bit. I will weather it with some powders, a little bit, but that's basically, I'm satisfied with the color. Now for the sidewalks, I use this. It's made by Vallejo. It says concrete on it, Model Air. First I tried diluting it, with rubbing alcohol, but I think this stuff is already ready to put in the airbrush because it just came out like water. But when I just used straight paint in the airbrush, it did fine. However, it looks really dark to me. So instead of just saying my perception that it's dark, I decided I would do a little bit of investigation. So let's take a look at some real concrete out in the sunlight. So this is a sidewalk in front of my house. Now I pressure washed it a couple years ago. Plus it's only maybe 18, 19 years old. My house was built in 2003. So this is obviously a lot darker. So let's go somewhere where I know there's some old concrete that hasn't been washed to see how that compares. Okay, so I drove down to the site of the Georgetown Depot, and this is actually the old platform, the edge of the platform for the depot. So I can guarantee you, this depot was torn down in the early 80s, and I guarantee you this has not been pressure washed. So it does look like maybe at one time, somewhere around here, it sort of had maybe a cap, or maybe repaired or something. But right here, it's definitely darker. Let me see what it looks like compared to over here where it hasn't been. Get my shadow out of it. That's a lot closer match. So I don't know when this was poured, but for old concrete, I'd say this is probably a pretty good match. Maybe a hair too dark, but it'll probably lighten up a little bit when I weather it. Alright, so I walked across the street. There's the really old concrete here. There's an abandoned house here. This obviously hasn't been pressure washed or maintained. So that's really not too bad of a match. I think I'm going to be good with it because the area model on Oak Hill has not been maintained very well and probably is about this color. So as you know, I've done this many times. A great resource for modeling is Google Maps or Google Earth. I mean, Roy Smith can be sitting in Panama City and do research on the area he's modeling, what things look like through Google Maps or Google Earth. So no matter where you're modeling, it's a great tool for you. So this is Oak Hill. This is July 24, 2015, about 6 years ago. This is the intersection that I'm doing. This is Main Street, this is Route 93. Obviously, to me, they have poured some, so it looks like they replaced this crossing here with concrete. And when they did that, they poured new section of sidewalk right here. This is where the depots were, right here, this wide gravel spot. This is the weird building that was the gas station, and this is the restaurant. This is Railroad Street, for reference. So, to me, this sidewalk is one thing, it's much narrower than this sidewalk. And there used to be big buildings here, and torn down, burnt down, whatever. This was the Oak Hill Business District, and that used to be filled up with brick buildings, and they're gone now. This building is new here. There used to be a bigger building there, an old building, which was either torn down or whatever. So this was the business district. These two are original, and this one is original. And of course, this restaurant's original. Back to the sidewalks. To me, this sidewalk is definitely darker color than that. But in this case, it is still not as dark as the sidewalk, that concrete color that I've got. So I'm going to also want to point out, this is where it's wide, then right after the restaurant gets down to narrow. And if you noticed in my model shot, I'm modeling the grassy strip in between the sidewalk and the street there. So that's what that white area was. I need to fill that in with styrene, paint it, and put static grass in there. But there's some obviously new sidewalks in here, but the color, that concrete color, is way too dark. First thing I'm going to try before I repaint it is I'm going to try to dust it. I've got some white weathering, to me a white powder. I'm going to dust the crap out of it and see if that'll lighten it way up. If it doesn't, then I'm going to clean it up. I'll wash it in the sink, dishwater, let it dry, and then I'll repaint it to a closer color. I will probably mix some white in with that Model Air, maybe. Definitely want it to be a different color than the blacktop roads. And as you can tell in here, it is different color. You know, so I need it to stand out a little bit, be a little bit different. But just some things to point out. Not all sidewalks are the same width. Notice here, this sidewalk's only about 4 feet wide. This was the business district more over here than this, and so here it's real wide. Here it's not quite as wide, but you know, across the railroad tracks to where the restaurant was, it was pretty wide. Then once it got to residential, it started tapering down. So I'm modeling that. You know, it's just a detail that you need to think about. There's no sidewalk here. This is just gravel berm. I don't think there ever was a sidewalk there because there were no buildings there. It's just the railroad tracks. And actually, at one time, there was a third track where these cars are parked. There was a track there, and there's a track here, too. So there were 3 tracks through there. And there was another track came down through here where the restaurant was in older pictures. So just another detail to look at. So I'm going to try to weather what I've got, and I'll show you what that looks like. So here's the results. What I used was the snow, to me a weathering master. Now I will weather everything, like the road with the soot and everything. You know, this it's definitely not, the road is not done. You know, I have to put the lines on it and weather it and everything. But yeah, I wasn't going to do that at this point, but that made a huge difference. Another thing I like about the weathering powder was it's not all uniform gray like it was when I painted it. You know, it was just there's variations in it. You know, like even though the houses on my street were all built about the same time, as I walk down the street, you know, I can see different panels of the concrete that were poured, you know, when they built each house by a different person that were maybe slightly different formulation and slightly different color. So I like that variation in color. So this is actually a relief to me. I didn't really want to have to try to figure out the right color to paint. I think I can go with this. This is what I'm talking about right here. This area is going to be built up with styrene and painted brown, and then have some static grass in there. And then there'll be a sidewalk coming into a house or two here to sit in this area right here with the restaurant or sundry. Actually, it's going to be like a sundry store or something like that for the era I'm modeling anyhow. So I say I put the depots in place. Now the reason why I'm doing the sidewalks now is because I only have a short distance back here. So even like this, you know, design preservation miniatures kit that I'm building, it is, I'm trying to get a side out of the box to sort of illustrate. So it's not a big building, but I don't have enough room hardly to have that building there. And you get down here where the road tapers, there's even less. So I had planned when I went to Tennessee next week to take these buildings with me, but I needed to know the dimensions to cut them down to go ahead and build them. So when I came back, they would fit in here because I've already got a sidewalk piece cut for this over here. So, however, I just found out a little while ago my trip to Tennessee has been canceled because of the production interruption with Toyota. So it's sort of a mixed blessing. I don't really look forward to traveling all the time, but I was sort of looking forward to going there because I'd never been there, and it was would have been kind of, see some new things that I've never seen before. I was looking forward to that, but I'm sure I will go sometime in the next few months. I'll go as soon as everything straightens out. So now that I figure out what I can do with my sidewalks, I can put them in place, and I can start building my buildings because, just like Boomer talked about, when he said he started breaking stuff on his barge slip because he was trying to reach around it. He said, I have to move it. I have to get it out of the way because I'm just going to tear it up trying to build the warehouse and the track and everything behind it. So I don't want to fix like the depots and everything in place until I get the roads done and all that back there. I'm going to work basically toward the front of the layout. That makes a lot of sense to me. Rather than not tear something up, because I can tell that semaphore is going to grab me every time I reach over it, just like my TV antennas do on Chillicothe on Douglas Avenue. And I don't want to break that thing, so I took a lot of time building that. So hope you found this informative. Again, I think the Model Air paint, not very good just by itself, but if you weather it, it looks pretty good. So at least that's what my plan is. Question, comments, let me know. This is Thursday, I'm off, so I'm probably going to get buried with a couple more videos before the weekend anyhow. But I'm glad that you enjoy them and give me feedback on what you like and what you don't like. And I'll try to do more of what you like. Everybody take care. Stay safe.